Hey guys, SuperHolo1 here. Welcome back to another video, and today I'm going to try and give you guys a quick one, seeing as I just dropped an hour-and-a-half long video yesterday. This is the switch and lighting controller for my mobile train layout. So I just finished these up and tested them, and they do work. There's a little bit of work that still needs to be done. For example, in the switch controller here, I still need to make little indicators as to what switch is being thrown. The lighting controller, I have room to add labels for what each switch does down here. I'm still going back and forth on if I'm going to do that or not, because I don't know how I'm going to be hooking this up, and odds are that's going to be changing frequently as I update the layout. So, as it stands right now, these are both fully functional, and I'm going to walk you guys through all the wiring on the inside here and give you guys some demonstrations. So starting on the outside here, these are 3D printed boxes. They're designed by me, go figure. They need a little bit of work if I want them to be super smooth. Right now they're soft to the touch, and that's really all that matters. I was going to make them out of 1/8 inch acrylic and then realized I didn't really have a good way of cutting it. So I now have 4 sheets of 1/8 inch acrylic just lying around that I can use for something eventually. But yeah, so overall I'm really happy with the outside. The switches are all from Amazon. It was just the cheapest stuff I could find that actually would work. These are probably way beefier than they need to be. These ones I'm hoping are beefy enough. I'll get to why in a second. But on the inside here, here's what we're looking at. And I need to make sure that tape actually stays this time. This is the backside of all those switches. They're just single pull, single throw toggle switches. Nothing too fancy. This is a 12-pin, ribbon cable for 2.5 millimeter connectors, if I remember correctly. So really small wire, but this is only seeing about 3 volts DC. It takes whatever voltage I'm giving it from the transformer. It doesn't really matter because it's nice and regulated. But it can take up to, I guess, 18 volts in through these really big 14 gauge wires because sure, and then runs it through this. This is a rectifier / regulator that switches it to DC and turns down the voltage. I have it set to 3 volts currently. You can set it, but I think between 3 and 12. Don't quote me on that. These just came off of eBay. They're nice. They came from China, so I don't know how long they're going to last, but I've got 4 of them. So if it fails, I've got replacements, and they're relatively low cost, so yippee. Budget, we love it. So yeah, these solid copper wires here aren't actually, I mean, they are solid copper wire, but I don't know what the gauge is, because what I did was I went to Home Depot and tried to get like 18 gauge solid copper wire that was uninsulated, and they don't have that. So at least they didn't at the store I was at. So I got 10 gauge braided uninsulated wire, and these are just the individual braids from that 10 gauge wire. And they just run positive to all of the switches because I am running positive through all of the output lines, and then negative through the red line here. So why, I don't know. It's just the way that I did it. So yeah, so that's pretty much all there is to it. It's relatively simple in design. I do have 3 extra inputs because I thought that I had ordered 10 switches and I didn't. I ordered 8. So whoopsie, but you know, I can very easily just 3D print a new box if I get 2 more switches. And then I have the ribbon cable already, so that makes that easy. But they have a very satisfying click and they work like a charm. So with that, by the way, getting this panel to slide in was took some work to get everything out of the grooves. But anyway, that's that. Let's take a look at the switch controller. Alright, so while these beefy boys are only seeing about 3 volts DC, these little guys here are seeing 18 volts AC because switch controllers. So, whoops. Oh well, that's just the way it goes. They are rated for it, so I'm not super worried about them getting all melty, but also just with the way that switches work, I shouldn't have to worry about it. So the way this works is, again, I've got 14 gauge coming in, and I've got 2 buses in here. This is using the brass wire that I use to make the flags on my Reading T1, which that video should come out in like a week or two, I think. But yeah, so that's how I did the bus instead of just jumping wires over or trying to strip the middle of the wire and bridge it across. These are double pull, double throw momentary switches. And the way that it works is that on the left side of each switch here is your hot coming off of this bottom bus. And when you throw the switch, in this case, we'll say up, what that does is that closes the circuit between the middle prong here and the lower prong, and then vice versa. If you push it down, it goes to the upper prong. If you wonder why, look up a cross-section at the inside of a switch. But yeah, so that does your AC hot, and then that runs to two of the wires in this 22 gauge 3-wire ribbon here. So on the other side, I have my AC ground, and that again goes into the middle prong, and then this time I only have one wire because you only need one common. That comes out of the top pin here, and I have both the top and the bottom bridged with this other piece of brass wire. The reason for that is because when you throw a switch, the way that it works is that there's a solenoid inside of the switch that is looking for 18 volts AC, and when you run 18 volts through it, it energizes the switch, which pulls a lever, which actuates a mechanism and throws the switch. I can show you guys a little bit more on that in a second, but that's fundamentally how they work. So there's a couple ways of throwing them. You can use a momentary switch like this, which does both the AC hot and the ground at the same time, or you can use a toggle switch, either something like this, or a rotary switch with a 60-degree throw in it, and then a push button, which is a momentary switch. And when you push the push button, it closes the circuit and aligns the switch to wherever you have the toggle switch thrown to. And then you can also hook it up to relays and have it throw or have it change lights on your control panel or change switches on your layout. Stuff I've thought about, and I have plans, but they cost money, so they're not happening right now. But yeah, so that is basically how these work. I'm not too worried about them getting melty, even though they're seeing 18 volts, because you don't hold these down. And if I do hold them down, I feel like I've got bigger problems than this thing melting itself. So anyway, with that out of the way, let's hook up a switch and a building and see these things in action. So while I was doing the lighting controller, I also went through and I added lights to all of the buildings. So Oceanside Station now has LEDs, as does the water tower, and then the school, which is, I am going to keep the school. I found a really cheap one because getting another $6 Plasticville school was cheaper than buying a pre-made, pre-lit building, and I don't have time to build a kit. So, woot. Anyway, so I've got power turned on right now. Throw the switch, and on channel 1 here, you can see that it lights up and it looks pretty good. These are just 3-volt warm white LEDs, nothing too fancy. I got a whole bunch of them for the Reading G3 legacy conversion project. That one you should go check out because I worked really hard on that. But yeah, so I think it looks really good. The window fog, by the way, is the same material that I used on the 1630 series passenger car restoration. You can find the actual product in that video. I have a scene somewhere of me showing the part number for it, but it's just some translucent poster board that I got at Michael's, and it does a really good job. So anyway, with that out of the way, let's hook up this switch that I brought up and try out the switch controller. So of course I had to bring out the biggest switch with the longest name. This is an Atlas 072 054 right hand curve turnout. And right now I've got 18 volts to the switch controller because it doesn't need track power, it just needs power to the switch controller because these are all your inputs. Your center one is your ground, and then your outer two are either AC hot for normal or AC hot for reverse. Reverse being off to the siding and normal being through the main. Right now it's set to reverse, so if I throw the switch up, you can see that it triggers the solenoid and throws the switch to the normal position. If I go down, it throws it back to reverse, and you can see that, you know, pretty reliable, pretty consistent mechanism. So, overall, very happy with it. I did test all of the inputs on the switch controller and all of the inputs on the lighting controller, and they do all work independently of each other. Nothing's bridged or going to short out or anything like that. So, yeah, that's that. So there you have it. That is my new lighting and switch controller all wrapped up and ready to go to Tiger Tracks 2024 in Rochester, New York, which if you can make it out to that show, I highly recommend you do. It's an absolutely fantastic show that's put on by a very small group of full-time college students who are also practically working a full-time job on top of their academic curriculum to make that thing happen. The workload is absolutely mind-boggling. I would know I did it, and hats off to them. To make that thing happen and bring in close to, if not over 200 tables this year, as well as around 6 layouts, including my own. And it'll probably be the only year that I bring my layout to that show just because of the logistical challenges of getting it all the way out there and back. But yeah, if you guys can go support that group and have a good time at a train show, by all means, please do. Obviously, I'm a little biased, but yeah. If you want to see the process, by the way, of me rewiring my layout to make it to that show, go check out my layout update number 5, Can It Be Mobile video, where I walk you guys through basically what I did to completely rewire my layout. In that video, I think I said that I wanted to do a more detailed video on these controllers, but seeing as I had never done anything even remotely like this before, I wanted to troubleshoot it and blow stuff up and melt things and break things on my own before I show you guys what the actual working product looks like. Saves you guys some time, saves me some time, and now I have a better idea of what I'm doing. So if you guys have any questions about how I built these, what they do, or anything else regarding my layout or the future plans for it, feel free to drop a comment down below. Love talking to you guys down there. Love answering your questions. But yeah. Anyway, hope you all enjoyed. Hope you all learned something. I'm CW Hollow 1, and have a good day, or maybe good night in your case. See ya.